Anna.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. As this is a 1 hour session, so I think we should not waste time and start the session. I hope that I'm audible to everyone. So before we start with Parag, I want that to give a quick introduction of Parag. Um, so thank you so much, Parag, for joining and doing this session for us on a very short notice. And I'm sure that the 1 hour will be very, learning for all of us who are actually joining every day with me from almost 1.5 months. We are doing the session, and so like your brief about Parag is like Parag is a maverick yet practical. He is a leader, international master facilitator, and he has got over 22 years of industry experience. So that's a very long experience. I'm sure that this experience is going to help us today. And he is a silver medalist alumni of Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies. Uh, he has done various trainings with many organizations, prestigious organizations like TIS and National Insurance Academy. He has conducted very many soft skill, behavioral skill, and HR domain training programs. And yeah, so like this is a brief intro of Parag, who is with us, and I believe that the today's session is going to be rocking, and he is going to help us in learning more and more, because the session itself is saying fundamental of facilitation. So I'm sure sometimes we learn so many things, but we miss on the fundamentals. And that's why I requested, by seeing the name fundamental, I requested Parag to do this session for all the trainers with me. And so yeah, so I'll just hand over it to Parag now without wasting more time. So Parag, you can please take over.
Sure. Can I just share my screen?
Sure.
Right. Okay. Just a moment. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a Sunday afternoon and last day of, at least in Maharashtra, people who are in Maharashtra, I'm in Pune. So people who are based in Pune, this is our last day of the lockdown 2.0. Of course, lockdown 3.0 starts tomorrow for another 2 weeks. So let's see how things progress in this pandemic COVID situation. So thank you for joining, taking time out, and thank you Trainers Club and Swati ma'am for that this wonderful opportunity, as well as for an introduction. So this particular slide actually talks a little bit about me, what was already spoken. I am also a certified coach from the ICF, currently based in Pune. I am a master trainer with the National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC. I am a certified NLP practitioner. I am an alumni of Symbiosis, as well as I'm an alumni of TIS and a faculty with TIS. And you can see on the screen there are a few of my hobbies mentioned: trekking, cooking, cycling, and marathons. I run marathons, and I prefer running barefoot. So I'm a barefoot marathoner. I'm also a vegan by choice. So all my food requirements come from plant-based nutrition. I do not take any milk or meat. The word that I associate myself the most is maverick. I found this word very interesting. The first time I came across was when I watched the movie Top Gun, and I went back home and Googled it, and I found this word very interesting. And I think this is one adjective that I associate myself with. Zensos Consulting is the firm that I co-founded. We do training, facilitation, and coaching to Zensos Consulting LLP. So very quickly, before we move forward, I want to just sense a little bit of a mood in the room. Here's what, there are a set of instructions on your screen. There is a site called menti.com. Some of you might have used it. Essentially, while you are in the session, you would need to open a browser like a Firefox or a Chrome or any web browser. Type in www.menti.com and a screen will pop up. As you can see at the left hand lower bottom, it will prompt to enter a code. Now the code to be entered is 224634. And once you enter that code, another screen will come up, which you can see on the right side of your screen. Please select your current, the way you're feeling currently, and select that. So what I'm going to do is, while you are entering this, opening the browser and entering this code, we are going to go live and see what is the mood in this session today. So we have about 33% people saying grateful. Okay, optimistic is 50. So we've got 4 responses so far out of about 26 participants, or about 24, 25 participants that we have. We will give it another few minutes. So for those of you who joined in just now, as you can see on the screen, open the browser, type in www.menti.com and use this code 224634. What I'm also doing while talking to you is I'm also logged in from another screen where I am looking at your chats. So thank you, Tarannum. We have some background noise coming in. Request all participants to mute themselves. All right, so far about 8 responses have come in, but most of the responses, 50% of that is people are in a mood of feeling grateful about whatever is happening. The responses are going up. Okay, I'm moving back, and I'll keep this and move back to our session. So a few ways of working that will help us to ensure that this session is really fruitful for everyone. Please ensure that our devices, whether we are on mobiles, laptops, or any other device that we have logged on from, that we keep ourselves on mute at all points in time so as to respect the co-learners. This avoids picking up of any ambient noise. Please be here. I know it's a Sunday afternoon. We could have had done a million other things or a billion other things. However, now that we have chosen to be here, spend this time, listen with intent. Please suspend any kind of judgment or any preconceived notions, which will help us in listening more actively. Be in the here and now. Easy to get distracted with a phone call or something happening at home or the TV. Just make sure there are no distraction. You are in here and now. Feel free to take notes. You can always take screenshots as well for your reference. And empty your cup. This is our mental cup. Whenever we are in a learning session, all of us mostly are from the training fraternity. So we know that, to learn anything new, first we need to empty our cup, and only then we can fill that cup with something new. And there is going to be times when, you will be required to chat or maybe step out and, like we did just now, do some other activity, or you might be in a breakout room. So just ensure that you are actively participating in all of these. A very quick pause here. Actually, this is a question for Swati. Swati, have you enabled the breakout rooms? Because I don't see them enabled. Swati, if you're there.
Hi Parag, the rooms are not enabled as I was facing little issue. I said no, even polls I am not able to do. I'm still trying from my phone if I can.
From phone, it doesn't happen, ma'am. I will have to use a desktop. All right, we will figure out something else on this then. All right. So if just in the chat box, if these ways of working are fine with everyone, may I just get a yes in the chat box from people who have logged in? About 26 participants. If I can just get a yes in the chat box so that we can move ahead with these ways of working, agreeing to this. Thank you so much.
You can use tick mark and cross also for yes and no, if that works.
Yeah, I'm aware. So a very quick check. I think most of us are from the L&D or training fraternity. If there is anybody who's from another background, you may want to just type that out. this is just to get a sense of how the audience mix is today for me, based on which, as we get into the session talking about facilitation, I could talk from a relevant standpoint. But I understand most of us are from the training and learning and development L&D fraternity. And the reason you would see me looking away from the screen is because I'm looking at your chats on another system that I have here. Just makes it a little easy. Thank you. So we are moving ahead. Quick disclaimer, this is just a primer or a 1 hour session or less. So we are not going to deep dive into the topic of facilitation. We will touch upon some of the fundamentals, some essentials for us to know. So since most of us here are from the training L&D facility of fraternity, could you tell me what is the difference, and you could type this in the chat box, the difference between training and facilitation as you understand it at this point in time? And each one of us definitely are aware of these two terms, training and facilitation. So how are these two different? Please use the chat box to put in your responses. I think we would need a little while for people to just key in their responses. Difference between training and facilitation. Okay, training is trainer centric, facilitation is audience centric. Wonderful. That's from Sunita. Monali Thakur says connect with audience in facilitation. Training is part of facilitation. Facilitation ensures learners learn. Wonderful. Excellent, Ayan. Thank you so much, Nikhil. Training is part of facilitation. We've got some really nice responses coming. Facilitation is more active mode. Yes. Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you, Monali, Sunita, and Ayan, and others for your responses. I would also be sharing a document with Swati, or we could probably post it on the group, which will have sort of a gist of the this particular session. So that's a kind of an e-gift that you can expect. We would be covering a little bit of understanding facilitation and its purpose, basics of facilitation, benefits of facilitative approach, and role of a facilitator. So that's what we want to cover over the next about 30 to 35 minutes that we have at hand. So while you've given me a difference between training and facilitation, if I was to just ask you, what is facilitation according to you? And if you could just quickly type that out as a standalone term, facilitation, what does that mean to you? I'm taking a moment to have a look at the chat box as the responses come in about what people are saying about facilitation. Whatever is your understanding at this point in time about facilitation, feel free to type that into the chat box. Okay, I'm having a look at the chats now. Facilitator is guru of trainer. Okay, all contribute. No one-way communication, says Deepak. Yes, Tarannum says without facilitation you cannot train. Okay, let the learning sink in to help implement. Wonderful response. Pradyumna says facilitation is adding more value. Facilitator uses knowledge for everyone, of everyone for everyone. Training plus easing the process is equal to facilitation. All right, great. Facilitation is just to help the learner to do the task on their own, says Reena. Some really wonderful ones coming. In the facilitation world, this is how, very simply, if you were to define facilitation, it is letting the inmates run the asylum. Yeah. So essentially what you've said kind of gets distilled in this small little sentence, where we are saying that facilitation is all about letting our learners or participants actually learn from each other and we become the resource person or facilitator. Although a lot of times, we use these words interchangeably. I am a facilitator or I'm a trainer. However, there are some distinct competencies and qualities that a facilitator displays and a trainer has. And as we go along, hopefully we will talk a little bit more about this. And as Ayan says, facilitation goes beyond the training room. Thank you for that input. Participant led, says Sunita Sawant. Thank you for that. All right, some wonderful responses coming in there about facilitation. So that makes my things, or for me to facilitate this session, it makes things easy. The way I look at it is I'm in the role of a facilitative trainer in this session. I'm not a pure facilitator. I'm not a pure trainer. And especially in this virtual space that we are in, I am more in a facilitative trainer role where I am going to share certain concepts. However, we would also learn from each other and try and harvest the group wisdom. Now, what is facilitation? From a textbook or a dictionary standpoint, it is an action of facilitating something. It is to make easy or ease a certain process. When we talk about facilitation, usually it is with a group of people, and hence facilitation is also referred to as group process facilitation, because a facilitator uses different processes for facilitating the group or the group wisdom, or to, as we say, harvest the group wisdom. So that's the sort of the dictionary or a simple definition. If we go to the website of International Association of Facilitators, IAF, you would find a definition of facilitation which looks something like this, as you see on the screen. Here it is defined more as an art and science of using collective wisdom of the group to achieve consensus. The important word here is consensus. It is critical to know that facilitation aims at achieving consensus by running well identified and relevant processes to enable the group to achieve the desired outcomes, guiding groups towards meaningful outcomes and making it easy for the groups to reach mutually beneficial desired outcomes. So a facilitator essentially makes sure that there is consensus in the room. While there is diverse views, perspectives, ideas, viewpoints coming into the picture, the facilitator collects all of that and helps the group to reach a certain consensus. It does not mean that a facilitator needs to drive the group towards a certain conclusion. Okay. So when we talk of a facilitative approach, and again, this is not just in field of training, facilitation can be used in any and every form. You could use facilitation as a parent. You could use facilitation, of course, as a trainer. You can use facilitation as a leader. Facilitation can be used even in, one of the places where facilitation can work great is all of us, we might be staying in certain housing complexes, societies. Annual general meetings are a great place where facilitation can be used. And I personally have used it in my society, and the AGMs have been much better since the time we have started using facilitative approach rather than a non-facilitative approach. And we are going to look at what the difference is here. So a facilitative approach essentially involves a shared responsibility for learning as well as for doing any task. Here I'm talking about it more from a learning standpoint, as all of us are from the training fraternity. The team usually possesses the experience, expertise, and wisdom in a particular area, and the facilitator helps to access the wisdom of the group. This is very crucial for a facilitator to trust that the group has all the answers. Yes, there are going to be times you might say that, okay, but the client is asking me to come and teach the group about certain thing or train them on a certain skill. Even there, you could be facilitative and still be able to train. There are various processes in facilitation where even teaching a certain concept or a certain skill or imparting knowledge is possible to be done in a facilitative manner. So I think what we've been talking about, and some of you, okay, so there is a question from Pradyumna. How is it consensus? That is the question from Pradyumna. Actually, he has typed this question for everyone. Now, let me open that to the entire group. We are now close to 30 odd participants. How do you think facilitation is more about reaching consensus? Any thoughts on this before I answer? But I just wanted to ask the group if anybody has a response to this question from Pradyumna. How is it consensus? How is facilitation consensus?
Okay, Oyun here. Hi, Parag.
Yes.
And hi, Pradyumna. See, basically what Parag is doing right now is a Chalta Firta example. So he's opening it up to all the 29, 30 people. So he's deriving inputs for everybody, and the consensus will be arrived in this manner. So that is a more democratic way, a more peaceful way of taking the issue forward. Instead of a trainer imposing his or her point of view. I think I'm able to address this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that input. Anybody else? Please feel free to
can
unmute. Please go. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Pradyumna, it is like when we start the session, we start the session in the Q&A mode. So say you are doing any soft skills vertical, let it be team building or leadership skills or communication skills, whatsoever it is. We start the session with a Q&A mode. When we start the session with a Q&A mode, you get a lot of inputs from the participants. Then you combine all those things and bring it into one particular sentence. Then that is agreed by each and every one participants, those who are present in the classroom or in the training arena. That is the consensus. If I am wrong, please do correct me.
Thank you very much for that input.
May I add to this conversation, please?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. You know, a facilitator is just not a trainer. A facilitator's job is, after all, there are two groups, at least a minimum of two groups with a common purpose but with different objectives. Or I could put it the other way. A purpose many times is more than the objective. The individual objective should lead to the common purpose. So his job is to arrive at a consensus. They may have differences in their understanding of a particular issue or a problem, these two different groups. He has to bring them to a common platform and then see the situation or the issue from the other's perspective. End of the day, both of them should be able to achieve. That's resulting in a win-win situation for both. The facilitator is not, he's not supposed to take any side of any group. At the same time, he has to bring the issues to the fore and make them understand their individual objectives may sometimes be opposite to each other, but then the purpose has to be, a purpose orientation has to be brought. So facilitator has to make sure if he is a trainer as a facilitator, that means he's training them in the facilitation skills as such. In that case, he should give all the characteristics or the qualities of a facilitator to the trainees. I mean, that's what the take that I would like to give.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for that input. Yes, I think we've got some very interesting inputs coming in, even on the chat. If we see, there are some very nice inputs that have come in. Training is content-based, facilitation is content-independent, facilitation is the umbrella. Okay, I think I've just gone back a little bit on this. And we were talking about consensus. That was the question that came in. So as we learned that it is to derive the group wisdom, that at the end, the group reaches to a conclusion after a lot of brainstorming. Okay. Tarannum says it is agree mutually. Then I also have facilitation is collaborative approach, understanding the things in common consensus, whereas training is enabling the process. Okay. Some really wonderful inputs coming in from all of you. Thank you so much for that. So here's how typically when we talk about consensus, it is slightly, and I think one of you, in our traditional approaches, and I've been a victim of that, mistakes in the classroom, as we are even growing up in our education system, mistakes are not really something that are looked upon very nicely. But when we look at a facilitative approach, mistakes are actually okay. Even as a facilitator, I should be open to being vulnerable. I should be okay to say I'm lost or I don't know this. It is fine to say that and move forward. It tolerates imperfection, openness to self and trust in self, respect and acceptance of everything, which means basically non-judgmental. I, as a facilitator, when I go into a session, I should be completely non-judgmental about any individual. There are times when people are going to walk in late. There may be somebody who might walk out multiple times. And I've seen some really great facilitators, facilitating sessions. And trust me, you will not even know that they are in the room. I mean, it is that subtle. Facilitation is so different in that sense from training. Is it is completely, like I said, the asylum is run by the inmates. So the facilitator is extremely subtle and in the background in facilitation and not really taking the forefront. Any questions? I'm taking a quick pause here as we look at the next slide about sort of a differentiation between presentation, training, and facilitation. While we are observing this slide, any question that comes to your mind, you might want to post or unmute yourself and ask the question. I'm hoping the pace is good.
Are you going to share these slides later?
I think what Swati does is she shares anyways the entire recording, so you would be able to access this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So if we look at this particular screen, it talks about the sort of differentiation between presentation, training, and facilitation. And of course, before presentation, we could also add teaching or lecturing, which again is different. But if you see subtly the focus from presentation to facilitation, it is moving from content to process. And we will try and understand this. As marketers or sometimes as trainers, we've always said that content is the king. But here in facilitation, the mindset is the content is created in the session. I do not necessarily go with a certain content that I have to enforce, but the content gets co-created with the participants and with the guidance of the facilitator. The deliverable is more about from information to group insights. Approach is more from presenting or telling to asking. So there is this wonderful line in facilitation which is used, which says that never tell what you can ask. And repeat that, never tell what you can ask. So if you are being a true facilitator, you can always ask rather than telling, because you trust the group's wisdom and you can get the answers from the group. So as a trainer, can we define as a facilitator?
Never tell what you can ask. Can we have an example, please?
Right. May I again request anybody from the group to unmute themselves and respond to this particular question which has come up?
Yes, this is what the first thing I answered to Pradyumna also. Ask is before getting into your topic or your vertical, you just start asking the questions about the particular topic that you are going to facilitate on that particular day or on that particular session. So you'll get a lot of inputs from the participants. So once you get the inputs from the participants, later on you just modify them in the better way so that the participants can understand it and implement it in their day-to-day life. That's what is asking. So most of the trainers, rather facilitators, they will be always in the Q&A process only. That's what I mean to say over here. If anything to be added, please do go ahead.
No, so I think
Parag, this is Ayan here.
Yes, sir.
I think once again, you are brilliantly demonstrating what you're saying. I mean, instead of answering his question, You threw it open to the crowd and you asked for an example.
Yeah.
So that is the best answer possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for catching that. So yes, it is about something about that. But again, sometimes the facilitator also juggles between two hats. One as a trainer. So sometimes I might have to put a hat of a trainer and actually respond to a question because I may be a SME, subject matter expert on that topic. But at times I can always step back and let the group actually take over. And I
Sir,
can.
I have a small doubt here. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, yes.
My doubt is right now we are on an interactive mode because you are talking to all of us. Now there is also sessions that are recorded as in pre-recorded sessions that are delivered at this moment where we are in a crisis and we are not able to give live sessions to all.
Yes.
There is a possibility where you record the session and then you send it to us like Swati ma'am does it in the evening every day. In that event, do we still call it training or do we call it facilitation? Because there it becomes one way.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it is not even training there. It is more of listening, so as to say. It can be called a self-paced learning. However, again, if you look at any of these massively open online courses where you're not, again, really interacting with the your faculty, like on Udemy or Coursera, but there still can be some facilitation in form of, some kind of quizzes happening or some interaction with the peers who are taking that course at that same point in time. However, when just a recording is getting shared, I would not say that it can only become facilitative if during the recording, so let's say I have recorded this session and we replay it, but I am also present while the recording is happening and I pause at certain times and ask questions or try and interact with my audience. So maybe we could be facilitative training there. I
Right.
hope that answers.
Right, sir. So are you saying that while I am only recording and giving a session, my mode of delivery or my choice of the content should change, or can it remain the same that I use for a facilitation?
Of course, when you are recording a session, naturally your methodology is going to change, because when we talk of facilitation, and again, now we are talking about virtual facilitation, but in its true sense, facilitation happens in a physical space, one-on-one or one-to-many, in a particular, let's say, open space or in a classroom, where activities are used. Now, naturally, that cannot be done when we are talking about a recorded session, right? Unless you record it in such a way that certain activities the participants are supposed to do and send you back some learning or something. But again, I would not really say that being purely facilitative, because the other way you could do is you could give them some pre-work before they come for or they go in for that recorded training, and there is some post-work which will at least ensure that there is some level of self-learning and the knowledge is getting co-created, something like that. And one key thing in a virtual or a recorded session would be if all the learners are part of single platform. If it is happening that I'm recording and just sending, and you as a participant are hearing that, and there is no interaction happening, one, and I don't know what happened with that knowledge or skill that was imparted. So again, that may not be very facilitative. For facilitation, we definitely need a little larger audience, and for them to be able to interact with each other. So some platform that is available for that. I just hope that answers.
Thank you, sir.
Can I add to this a bit?
Sure.
I think, Vijayaji, this would become a pure e-teaching.
True.
Absolutely. And I think Deepak has posted one interesting comment in the chat box that while sessions are moving from training to facilitation, customers are not very clear. And this is so very true, Deepak. I mean, trust me, if you are approaching or you're telling a customer of yours that I'm going to use a facilitative approach and things, I mean, they will not. I mean, I have had times where a client has come back and said, sir, you used very little slides. And I was like, but wasn't whatever was the intention or the learning objective, was that achieved? Yes, that was achieved, but we were thinking that you would use more slides and there will be more content. So again, yes, it takes a little while to make that shift. And I agree that a lot of times for customers, it is a tick box for the HR or the learning and development that this training was done in the calendar year. So it just becomes a tick box against a person's need.
So Parag, Oyan here. Hello.
Please
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So just to add a small point, see, we face the same challenge. Sometimes training coordinators who may not be so evolved often have this question that, sir, kitna slide kiya? Now the issue is, if as long as a facilitator remembers that there are multiple customers inside the room, so there could be 20 participants, there could be a training coordinator sitting over there, a training head or an HR head walks in, and maybe the business head spends some time in the lunch. Now, all these are different segments of customers, and all of them have expectations, and each expectation needs to be addressed. So expectation management at the start and interim in between, maybe at the end of the day, if you kind of address the expectations of all these different groups of people, from learner to business head who is signing the check end of the day, I think that is going to help the facilitation process. Thanks.
I agree, sir. However, in a real life scenario, we rarely see that happening. So in a classic facilitative approach, in fact, what is also recommended, what they say is to have a what we call as client contracting. So before the actual facilitation, you get into the room, there is a lot of back-end work that happens, which means, and what I'm doing, as you can see on the screen, is I'm taking a screenshot very quickly. So what I was saying is client contracting becomes very crucial, because when we do client contracting, some of these things are spoken about and they are ironed out. Before we as facilitator actually get into the training room, we have already spoken to our clients and clarified as to what is it that we will bring to the table. So that is one approach that we could do, right? Okay, so Deepak has another question. You said a large number of people for facilitation. Can you, how many people? Okay, so what approximately? So again, there are facilitators. There is something called as open space technology, OST, and you can Google about this. In OST, you can facilitate as large as 200-300 or 1,000 people as well. But there you would need multiple facilitators, but that is also possible to be done. In a classic corporate kind of an environment, an ideal size, I would think, would be close to between 20 to 25 would be a great number to have, similar to what we call in training. But in trainings, I have also seen that there are sometimes even 50 odd people. If you want to do a good job of facilitation, I would say about 20 to 25 would be perfect. Yes, thank you. Let's move forward. So facilitator essentially is somebody who is literally making things easy, for the people or for the participants. The definition of facilitation is to make things easy or ease a certain process, as we have seen. I'll be moving a little rapidly ahead because we've kind of covered these points. One very important thing to remember as a facilitator is to remain neutral at all points in time. So as a facilitator, we never take certain sides, or certain are not colored by certain comments. We do not get distracted because our audience might be heterogeneous in terms of their backgrounds, in terms of their education, in terms of anything, in terms of their views. It could be, sometimes even somebody might bring in some political view into a discussion. And if that is something that, resonates with us, even in that situation, a facilitator needs to remain neutral. I think this is one key skill as a facilitator we need to ensure. The importance of this is, a facilitator has to ensure that he or she is creating a safe space for more ideas to come in. The moment a facilitator moves from one side, is kind of biased towards one side, or is not neutral, that is the time people will start feeling that it is no longer a safe space. So if I start saying that, Deepak has been asking a lot of questions, I think he is a wonderful participant, and I really like all participants to be like him. They should be participating, asking questions. The others are not asking questions. Suddenly everybody is going to go on back foot. They are going to feel that, okay, now only one person is being focused or put in the limelight, right? Here's where as a facilitator, we remain neutral. We take all the inputs, we appreciate everything, and we move forward. So being neutral or neutrality is one very key, I would say, trait that a facilitator needs to exhibit. So no playing the favorites. Now here's a question on the screen. You would be using your chat box to respond to this. Typically, if you were in a facilitative role or you were planning a session to run as a facilitator, which of these roles will come in which sequence? So, you know, there is a role of a guide, there is a role of an architect and a pilot. Each of these roles are slightly different from each other, but where do we start and where do we end typically in a facilitation session or a facilitative session? Please type in the chat box. You could just put in the initials like Vasudev sir has put in AGP. Is it architect, guide, then pilot, or is it pilot, architect, guide, or what is it? So architect, guide, pilot, architect, guide, pilot, guide, architect, pilot, says Vijaya. Okay. Anyone else typing in? Okay, so we've got some interesting inputs. There is AGP, that is architect, then guide and pilot. Typically, if I was facilitating a session, there is a lot of back-end work I have to do in terms of, like we said, even the client contracting or devising the certain processes, how I'm going to run my session, what process I will use, and what is really I'm going to focus as the learning outcome. So that is all the blueprint of the session, which is the architecture part. Then once I'm in the session, I have to actually pilot the group, I have to pilot that session and also guide my participants. So typically it is architect, pilot and guide. So that typically is the way in which a facilitator role will change. And we are going to look at another slide where we are going to talk about a little expanded role of a facilitator. What facilitation actually does is, and again, we've talked about this, but it is kind of just a reiteration or a recap of what we've spoken. Facilitation actually helps in getting the best of the people, and facilitative approach helps in better, I would say, participation, collaboration, and getting the best out of people. It ensures that meetings and discussions are more collaborative, efficient, and enjoyable. Bigger and better ideas come with more ease. So basically it is more creative and time is used to the fullest. So even before starting the session, a lot of us as trainers, and I used to do this as well, and in this session also, because of paucity of time, I did show you what we call as ways of working, or what somebody, in some sessions we call it as ground rules. As trainers, I've seen a lot of us would go and just project that thing and say that this is what we are going to do. Whether people agree to it or not is a different thing. However, as a facilitator, you would let it get co-created. So you could ask a question that, okay, now that all of us are in this space as learners, what are some of the things that we can do to ensure that our learning is maximum? That is a question we can throw open to the audience. And then the participants could on their own come up with, okay, we can keep our mobiles away. We can maybe, come on, start on time, stop on time. Maybe we have to be here physically and mentally, listen actively, participate. All of these things will start coming from them. So, which is again where, we are truly being facilitative. So this is where we create a safe space for people to contribute. And like I said, it is all about moving from content to process. A traditional approach has been that we focus a lot on content. Today, content is available in abundance, and just having content necessarily doesn't mean we will be able to deliver it with great effectiveness. So the focus has moved towards the delivery, and not just when I say delivery, it is from a process standpoint. So facilitation focuses more on the process. I would not say again on delivery, because you might still know the process and may not do a good job of delivering it. So, but facilitation versus training, content versus process. So training is more content focused, facilitation is more process focused, while content is probably 20% and process is more 80%. Now, I was hoping that we would go into breakout rooms. However, I'm still not able to see this particular feature on my screen, although it has been enabled. I think while I'm on the session, it may not be able to do this. So instead of getting into rooms, here's what we could do. We could take this another few minutes, and based on whatever we have discussed, we will directly jump on to doing something online. Let me go to that particular slide. Yeah. Let me move this slide up. All right. So we are going to go back to menti.com. Okay. This is www.menti.com. Open it in your browser and you see a new code on your screen, 687213. Just type in that code, and once you see a certain, there would be another screen that you will that will pop up. Screenshot is shown here at the bottom right side of your of the presentation. You have to put down, according to you, what are the top 3 attributes of an effective facilitator. So we've been talking about facilitation and facilitator. I think we are at a good point where each one of us has formed some idea, about what a facilitator needs to have. When we talk of attributes, it could be in terms of skills, it could be in terms of certain qualities. Yeah. Is somebody contributing? So you will have to go to menti.com, and once you are on menti.com, you will have to input and try and keep it to us 1 or 2 words. We are talking about an attribute of an effective facilitator. According to you, what are the 3 top attributes of an effective facilitator? Give your responses as a single word. You could use any single word. Communicator could be an example that you could put, or anything else. Okay, so we have got the very first response. Some more responses coming in now, as you can see on your screen dynamically in real time. My request is again, try and keep it to a single word. So at this point in time, looks like multiple people have used the word listener, which is why it is showing a little bolder and bigger as compared to some of the other words. We actually have a good about 25 odd participants. So if we can get about 12 to 15 responses, we will get a good idea about what is the group thinking. So if you see, you are giving your divergent views at this point in time, typing those top 3 attributes, and what is happening on the screen is it is also collating all of that and putting it together. Now, whether that is right or wrong is secondary. We are not talking about that at this point in time. This is what the current group which is attending this session is thinking, that these are the top 3 attributes for an effective facilitator. We can see innovative, we can see listener, we can see communicator, knowledge as the top attributes that are coming up, with about 13 inputs that have come up from 13 participants. We have about 25, 26 of us. I was hoping that we can have more participation. Do we have more people inputting? Wow. So yes, whether this is right or wrong, we will not focus on that. But yes, as a group, this is what we think. So this is where in a way, some kind of consensus may happen. Now, at this process, at this point, I could run another process to say that, okay, all of these divergent views have come up, which you see on the screen. What you could do is go on the top of your screen, and there should be a button called as annotate, right? If you can see annotate button, just go to the annotate button and see if you could use that. In that, there is something called as stamp. If you open stamp in annotation, if it has been, I think it has been enabled for all of you, just type a yes if you can see annotation or annotate. you can see that.
No, sir, I don't see that option.
Okay, okay. So maybe see, there are a few things that you see on your screen, right? If you see on the top of your screen, it says View Options. If you do a click on that, there is a drop down, and you would see something called as Annotate. If you click on that, Annotate, there is another floating bar that comes. And in that floating bar, there is an option called as Stamp. And in the stamp, there is a heart shape. So we can just click on the screen and say what we think. So for example, if I was to annotate using a heart, I can put as innovating or listening. I can just put a heart here, and you will see that on your screen as well. So that is another way of voting for what the people are thinking. It's another way of getting to a consensus, and we are using it dynamically on the screen right now. Some of you may be able to do it. I can see some ticks. I have put one heart, 2 hearts. So again, this is called as kind of dot voting in some sense. Deepak, you can see this when you are on this. If you're on the mobile, it might be a little difficult. Unfortunately, Zoom has this facility, I think more on when you are on a laptop or a desktop. Basically, there is something on the top you will see as View Options, and when you click on that, there is a drop down and Annotate. Under Annotate, there is a stamp option, and we are using the stamp. So I'm just randomly putting a few hearts around or a few stars on the screen, and they might appear to you. So this is how annotation happens. Again, a feature that could be used possibly in virtual sessions, right? So I'm going to stop annotation now and quickly take a screenshot of this particular screen. And we are back into our main session. So thank you for your participation. I think I need to clear all the annotations. As a host, I can just clear all drawings. So no more annotations. So we've seen that as a group, we feel that innovativeness or being a good listener, communicator, and knowledge are some key attributes for an effective facilitator. Now, this may or may not be true. Let's quickly look at what makes an effective facilitator. Right. So when we talk of qualities or attributes of an effective facilitator, he or she should, the first thing he or she should ensure is creating a safe environment for the participants, inclusion of divergent inputs, ideas, thoughts, and perspectives and opinions, asking powerful questions, understanding the group dynamics, because there are times when you get into a room, there might be certain underlying currents when two people from two teams or two strong individuals are there in the room. Again, ensuring how to handle those group dynamics, remaining flexible, building consensus, being positive, not afraid to play, which means to experiment things and be on the lighter side. Good listener, which has come up. Boomerang. Boomerang is essentially, and as trainers also we use that, but even more as a facilitator, that throwing the question back to the audience. So bouncing it back to the audience or to your participants, that is boomerang. Remaining grounded, irrespective of the fact that I might have a lot of understanding and knowledge of the topic being discussed, but I will hold myself back. I will let the inmates run the asylum. I will also defer all judgments, prejudices. I will remain respectful at all points in time and remain patient, harvest group wisdom, and remain neutral. So these are some very key attributes or qualities of an effective facilitator. Some of the roles, and I've just expanded this from just being an architect, pilot, and a guide. A good facilitator would also need to be a great motivator to ensure there is participation and collaboration, questioner, bridge builder, clairvoyant, peacemaker. There are times when, if there are tensions, we need to also act as a peacemaker. Taskmaster, from the perspective that a certain process has to be followed. So keeping everything on track. Certain times the discussions get derailed. So ensuring we stay focused and also praising people for their contributions. So this could be in a way looked at as a expanded attributes of a effective facilitator. I have this particular slide is basically to share some recommended books and resources for those of you who want to delve further into this. There is a great book called The Skill Facilitator by a seasoned facilitator at an international level with I think almost over 2 decades or more of facilitation experience, Roger Schwartz. So that's a must-have book. It's almost like a Gita, Quran, or a Bible of facilitation. Then we have Fearless Facilitation, which is a light read, but a very nice read on facilitation. If you are somebody who facilitates and works a lot with senior leadership, there is a wonderful book called as Facilitative Leader by Sanjay Dugar, an Indian author based in Bangalore, and also a seasoned facilitator. And there is a small read called as Handbook of Facilitative Leadership. Most of these books, I think, are also available in the soft copy format in Kindle on Amazon, or some, I think, are also in form of audiobooks. You can also go to the website of International Association of Facilitators, which is IAF. The website is www.iaf-world.org. www.iaf-world.org. All right. Yes, thanks Deepak for putting that. That's the right one. Deepak has just mentioned that in the chat box for those of you who did not catch it. Thank you so much, Deepak. So yes, these are some resources available to us to be better facilitators. I am open to taking any one or two questions. The scheduled time was about an hour. We are over an hour. Okay, where am I based? I am based in Pune, Deepak. So we are at about an hour and 8 minutes. If there are no, and of course, I am there on the group as well. Please feel free to reach out to ask me any questions around this
topic.
Launch
a poll, Parag?
Are you able to do that?
Yes.
I have actually a poll here. Otherwise, I would just launch this at this point in time, if that's okay.
Yeah, you asked me to get it ready, so I've done that.
We can do that. Yeah, just let me do this one. Yeah. One last time we want to go to menti.com, and this time around a different code to be used. It is 786415. That is the code we will use on menti.com. This is a kind request for everyone to take the feed forward poll. I really don't call it as feedback, because feed forward is for improvement in the future. We really can't do much about what has happened in the past, but we can only learn from it and move forward. So please go on to menti.com and enter the code 786415. Once you have entered the code, you would see a screen and there would be a slider. Let me just bring that up for you. It will start looking something like this in real time. And we are taking your feedback in terms of this particular micro learning session, as we call it. Facilitation is an extremely deep topic. We just spent about over an hour, or about, let's say, 50-60 minutes on it. But getting your inputs, or as we call it as feed forward, would be really helpful. Thank you. We've got about 9 people. I request participants to stay on for another couple of minutes before we log off. Feel free to also provide your feed forward in the group. I am part of group number 1. If you are also part of group number 1, I would love to see your feedback on the group as well. So we've got 11 so far on menti.com using the code 786415. 12, this is happening in real time, ladies and gentlemen. It's very heartening to see the feedback coming in. Thank you so much. And just respecting everybody's time. And you can continue doing this. I'm going to keep this particular thing open, which is why I did not take the poll from Zoom. We can keep this open. You can access this and keep giving your responses. If you have the code written somewhere, 786415, you just have to go to menti.com and you can put your response. So we move back to our session. And I take this opportunity to definitely thank each one of you for staying on and being here. Thank you for the comments in the comment box. Thank you, Monali. Thank you, Deepak. Sumit, thank you so much. Vijaya ma'am, thank you so much. I also want to take an opportunity to thank, if you see on the screen, there are people who are making our lockdown easy on us. Trust me, if these people were not there, it would not have been easy. People who are, transporting things for us, groceries making available. There are people who are doing the e-courses or virtual classes. There are the health care officials. All of those people, the police, they are making our life much easier. So a big thank you to them. A big thank you to, of course, Trainers Club and Dr. Swati ma'am for this opportunity. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Parag. It was really, really enriching session for all of us, and those we all are moving on to the online webinar sessions nowadays, and it's a great, great learning from your side. And I thank you to conduct the session online on Trainers Club, and thank you everyone to participate and contribute all your knowledge which is there. And of course, Parag has enriched so much that how you can do it virtually and make it more interesting sessions going forward. And I wish best of luck to Parag and to everyone over here. And this is Dr. Swati from Trainers Club signing off.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Parag.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone.